So I was just on a walk and having a really lovely day today, and I was actually vlogging my whole day, and I was going to do like a full day vlog, and it's basically a full day. It's 9:19 right now, so kind of toward the end of my night, but I decided to just cut it short because my energy just completely shifted, and I was on my evening walk having a lovely time, just taking it all in, enjoying the sights and sounds, and these two guys started like taunting me basically and just like yelling like China, China, ha ha ha, like literally laughing at me, and like they're also just kind of like making fun of me because I was vlogging, and it's not like that weird of a thing to do. I get it's a little unusual, I guess. But they were basically taunting me for being Chinese, which I'm not. So let me just say this first of all, is that throughout this day, I truly cannot count how many times, I literally cannot tell you how many times I was called Chinese or Japanese and had people like doing similar things. And they pretty much didn't bother me because at this point I just kind of take it in stride, like I'm, a new Ola in Israel, it's going to happen, and frankly, it will probably happen for the rest of my life in Israel. And I've accepted that at this point as just, that's the reality, and it's definitely, I have no desire to change the way other people are behaving. I truly, genuinely do not hold it against them, because whether it's ignorance or just people thinking that that's a friendly thing to do, or just I'm not criticizing the behavior, and I know that what needs to change is just like my attitude and how I basically process and handle these situations. So I know I have some learning to do in terms of adjusting to this aspect of my life here in Israel, but so anyway, my point being that I heard it a lot today, and I literally think the most aggressive thing that happened, which I wasn't totally okay with, but it didn't really bother me too much because it happened quickly, was like taxi drivers get really excited when they see me because they assume that I'm a tourist, and so they ask me like taxi, and they'll get really excited, try to engage me in conversation and try to like get me to go sightseeing or whatever it is. And this one dude literally just like got in my face. He's like, taxi, and he was like truly like within 12 inches of my face, and it was just like personal bubble kind of thing, and it was just a bit much. But aside from that, the multiple number of times throughout the day that I've been called Chinese, Japanese, heard ni hao, heard konnichiwa, and all that kind of stuff, I genuinely, I was in such a great mood today that it just totally rolled off me today. And so anyway, this particular instance though, where my energy just completely shifted, it was really different because these two guys, I hear the tones, I hear the words, I hear what people are saying, and sometimes they're just, making friendly gestures or just saying ni hao and just being kind of silly or stupid or whatever. But these two guys in particular were they were literally taunting me, and I don't know if it was just the combination of the vlogging thing and that as in me being Asian and them not being able to handle it, but I don't know what it was, but they were just pretty much making fun of me, and it just felt really bad. So in this situation, as compared to all the other moments throughout the day, I just got really defensive, and I said back to them, I was like, I'm not from China, and I said, Meorah, and that totally changed their tone. They were like, oh, okay, I get it. And then they basically they stopped, and it was just such a uncomfortable situation for me, and it's just I hate that I have to say that to them, and I get it. And again, I'm not criticizing them. I'm not asking anyone to change their behavior. I don't expect that. I don't need that. I know that I need to process how I'm going to be handling these situations moving forward. And it's just something that is still a little bit hard to chew. And sorry, hate crying videos, but I just really felt like this was important to share with you guys and express this part of the experience that I'm going through. It's really tough having come here and felt like I belong, and I feel that deep in my bones, and I didn't come here to belong necessarily to people and community, although of course it's part of it, but I feel intrinsically tied to the land, and I really believe that Jews belong in the land of Israel, and I feel that here, and I've truly just never felt more at home in an environment, just the whole place, everything, including the people. I just feel very much like I belong. But it's a very strange phenomena when you look out at people and you look out at your community and your environment, your new home, and you feel a sense of home and belonging, and they look at you and they don't see that, and they don't reciprocate that feeling, because to them you look like a stranger, you look like a foreigner, you look like you don't belong. And that dissonance is just incredibly challenging to make sense of and to basically, just make peace with. So that's a process I'm going through. And again, I know that it's nothing against the people who are sort of triggering this in me. Like, this goes for me like way back. Like, I honestly, with those guys like making fun of me, like I felt like I was back in middle school with like kids making fun of me for being Asian. It's just like story of my life. And it's just crazy because like, it's just this perpetual feeling of that classic like not enough syndrome, where I'm basically like not Korean enough, I'm not American enough, I'm not Jewish enough, and I'm not Israeli enough. And I know that's not necessarily true, but it's the experience, like it's what I'm feeling in these moments when people look at me and see a stranger and I don't see that in them. And it's just such a crazy feeling. And like, I had this experience back home too, where I always thought it was like such an interesting, situation. It's an interesting phenomena when, like, if I see like a visibly Jewish person, like I see someone like a man with like, a black hat payas, like walking down the street, even back home, like I would look at that man and feel such a sense of familiarity, a feeling of home, a feeling of just this common core. And I would know that we have so much in common. We're saying the same brachas, we're davening together, we're studying together, separately, but living the same type of life in a sense. And he just sees me and sees a stranger, and he doesn't get any of that. Like, he doesn't have that same sense of connection I feel to him. And so I always thought that was a very interesting aspect of my journey and of me coming into my Jewish identity and being comfortable with it. It's like, coming here to live in Israel, that's just like every day with every single person, basically. And so I just haven't really, been able to work that out yet. And this, like I said, it doesn't even just relate to me and being Jewish and being Israeli now. And it's so much more beyond that. It has so much to do with just me and this ongoing theme of identity and belonging. And this goes all the way back to childhood. I had a lot of moments that I'm basically reliving now here in Israel, which, the irony does not escape me, of people just taunting me for being anything that I wasn't, which was Chinese or Japanese, and saying ni hao and saying konnichiwa in a very taunting way. And honestly, even if people are calling out my racial identity, my ethnicity, not even in a taunting way, it was a constant theme of being reminded, like, you are different than me. And this theme of separation and belonging is definitely like my life theme that I need to work through. So it's really interesting to be working through it here. And I'm actually, at the same time, even though I don't look it, I'm actually super grateful that I'm here in this situation, because I know that this is part of my spiritual journey, of part of my coming together and integrating myself as a whole being, by understanding that essentially it's not, like I said, it's not about the other people, it's about me. And I think that ultimately the lesson that I need to learn, and the thing that I need to really swallow, is that I don't need other people's validation of belonging or not belonging. We all belong in one way or another, and I know that, on a logical level, but I'm not really internalizing that, and I'm still feeling hurt and wounded when I hear people taunting me, or when I hear people just calling out over and over and over again that I am not them, and so that's a deeply challenging wound that I'm getting through right now. And I am grateful to be here in this situation where I'm basically immersed in this topic, this theme, all these triggers all day long. I think it's a really interesting situation that I'm now in, being at 35 years old now, going through this and hopefully processing this. And I really do feel like I'm working through it. But yeah, it doesn't mean that that wasn't a painful situation and that it wasn't completely uncomfortable, and that it definitely, obviously, just completely, warped my energy at this point. And I don't want to give it that much power. Like, I'm going to bounce back in a little bit. I'm just kind of like processing what happened and just thinking about this as a greater theme in my life and about my journeying here and being here in Israel, which is really, I believe, firmly my permanent home. So I know I need to make peace with this situation because it's not going to change, and I'll probably be like an 80-year-old lady walking around these streets and still be treating like I'm not Jewish, that I'm not Israeli. So I want to come to peace with that. And anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys because it's definitely an aspect of making Aliyah and entering Jewish peoplehood, and becoming an Israeli and all that. Like, it's definitely an aspect of that experience that isn't very often talked about or addressed, and I just wanted to shed light on it. And I really want to impart that this isn't a negative thing, like definitely not. Like I said, I really am grateful that I'm going through this because I know this is a life theme that I need to like quash basically. So again, I hold nothing against the people who are just triggering, it's like they're basically just mechanisms to trigger me and help me get through this process of finally healing this very old wound that I know that I need to get through and that I know that I will get through. So I just want to share that, like I said. Thank you guys for sticking with me. If you want to see that vlog of like my pleasant day up until then, I will drop it here or here, wherever it is. And you guys can enjoy that. But I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to have a lovely day for the rest of the evening. And thank you guys again for listening and for sticking with me. And I'll see you guys later. Shalom Aleichem.